What's up, everyone? We've got another awesome episode of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Show. We've got amazing guests, Jimothy and Tom, and what we're going to be doing today is an awesome post-Photon Hypernova tier list. Are we excited, guys? It's going to be awesome, isn't it?
As always.
Yeah, loving it.
I'm
loving
stoked
it,
to talk about just some brand new decks. I'm bored of tier.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I can't wait to be proven wrong about all these rogue decks that I think are going to be sick. So
Yeah.
let's get into it.
And one of the awesome things I can definitely say is that Konami, even though tier is still the best deck, Konami definitely have put some support in for a lot of these new decks. Stuff has changed, so it is going to be exciting to see what's below tier and what's going to be some of the best decks. But to start off with, and I'll just quickly kind of run through this. So obviously we have tier 1, which is the best decks of the format. It's going to be those competitive ones you want to play if you actually want to win an event. Tier 2, got a chance, but not necessarily the best decks. Rogue, everything I put in Rogue and non-meta is basically, in my opinion, not worth playing. It might have a bit of a chance, a bit of potential, but it's not going to be as good. And then one to watch, what we're going to do is, if it's a one to watch, it's a deck that something special is about that deck that might give it a little bit of an edge in the upcoming format. So to start off with, and just to confirm, can everyone see the tier list and can everyone see my screen?
Yeah, locked in, man.
Loving
Yeah,
it.
good.
So the first deck that we're actually going to talk about, and I'm actually going to help the audience here as well, the first deck we're actually going to talk about is going to be Pendulums. So Pendulums, what do we think, guys? Where do we think Pendulum sits on this list?
When you say pendulum, what do you mean?
So-
Are you talking Draco Slayer, Valiant?
I'm talking Draco Slayers. I think Draco
Okay.
Slayers is the only relevant Pendulum deck right now, and because they're all basically the same deck, that's why I usually just count them as one. So where do we think they sit?
As an avid rogue player, I would agree with the term that Draco Slayers are the best pendulum deck. Valence have got some quirky things that they can do. It's a couple of FTK strategies, but I don't think they'd hold a candle in a longer event, if you get what I'm saying.
Jimothy, just say it. Valence suck. You don't have to
We've got that one Valence fan.
They're definitely one of the more unique decks in it, but
Yeah.
aren't good.
Yeah.
They're just not. I've tried, but in terms of pendulums, for my opinion, I'd probably put it like rogue, potentially non-meta, only because Kashtira locking out any of the pendulum zones when the deck needs a couple of cards to play. It's not good. It's not good. It feels bad.
Yeah,
I've seen quite a few people. I've seen quite a few people talking about Draco Slayer as being a good rogue pick for going second in Kashtira against Kashtira. I think the only pendulum card I've ever used in my life is a Morphage Goliath, so I'm probably not the right person to ask. But, it seems good at what it does.
Yeah, so do you know what is going second? Sorry, Tom, I'll let you in a second. It's just, so with Pendulums, basically, it's because they can play Lava Golem, so they Lava Golem you, and then they play. That's why people think it's good. But sorry, Tom, you carry on.
No, it's okay. I'm a pretty avid Draco Slayer fan. I picked it up basically on release and wanted to really test with it because it seemed like it's one of the more unique pendulum decks, right? Because every deck before it was kind of the Trifanovsky special of 50 negates through realistically one hand trap and not the 7 that he says. But this one is more it kind of falls into that weird mid-range play where you can end on maybe 1 to 2 negates backed up with other disruption.
Yeah.
I think even if Kashtira didn't have Shangri-Era existing, Kashtira coming into the format is the sole reason why Draco Slayer can't be a thing, because people are going to start maining Nibiru again.
Yeah.
And one of the reasons why Draco Slayer was a decent pick in this current format, pre-Photon Hypernova, is because no one was playing Nibiru.
Yeah.
Because it just didn't affect any of the other decks. So
Yeah.
just the inherent weakness to that in and of itself means I don't think this deck is going to be that strong. I want it to be, because I want my Ignises to go up in price. But but aside from my capitalist greed, I definitely do enjoy this deck, and I really do hope for it to be a good deck. But yeah, I just think right now it's not possible, which is a shame. But I think I'd agree with Jimothy in sticking it in Rogue. I think you can take it to a locals and have some fun with it, but anything past that is it's not going to happen.
Yeah, fully agree, definitely.
I was just gonna say, just a quick note on the pendulums, just as an archetype, quote unquote. I just feel like the card economy just doesn't match up to some of the stronger decks out there. Having to have a couple of cards to play and then playing into a board as well. it doesn't particularly bode very well, and you just burn through a lot of your resources, and you don't really get much of a follow up. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah,
I think that's why it stays in rogue for me.
Yeah, 100%. I fully agree. So I guess the next deck we're going to talk about is Gishki, and in this I'm saying Gishki, and this is Gishki or Gishki Sprite or whatever weird Gishki variant that we're talking about. So where do we think that's going to sit in the next format?
I have very little experience with the new Gishki, but like the old Gishki, like from what I understood, it hand looped you, and if it went off, you won. If you didn't, you lost. And any deck that's kind of like that, just I don't really think it's good. But I've seen the Sprite synergies. I've seen Tombox's profile. I think it'll be an interesting engine that people will play in Sprite for sure. So I think in terms of like a Sprite deck, it might not be the best way to play Sprite, but it definitely seems like the coolest. In terms of how the new deck's going to perform, personally, I'd put it in one to watch maybe, because it does seem like it's doing well in OCG and stuff. But I don't know. Like, we got a bit of a different format, and like Tom said about people maining cards like Nibiru again and like board breakers, maybe that could hurt. I don't know. Like,
so what I would say about Gishki Sprite is that it's actually really interesting, because I think it actually addresses two of the biggest problems sprites have, which is that first, it gives them an early negate that's not limited by, like, you don't have, it's not, carrot and red are actually bad negates because they have to get rid of another card. So a lot of times you need to have carrot plus a card plus the thing you're trying to use plus a gigantic to actually play, because carrot or red is going to have to take a card away. Gishki basically generates its own negate, and then also essentially what makes it OP is, I think, is it Gishki and Abyss? I don't know. One of the Gishkis is not once per turn. Well, not one of the Gishki. One of the searchers anyway is not once per turn, and basically Sprite can summon it like 3 or 4 times, and each time it's going to search a Gishki to your hand. So that's kind of a big part of the strength, and so I definitely would say it's one to watch. In terms of power level, I'd actually say it's really high tier 2. I think it's probably going to be one of the best ways to play Sprite, in my opinion.
I definitely agree, and I think the reason why we're a little bit unsure about it is just because it hasn't been tested. I do think at first I thought, it's just a Sprite deck with a Gishki engine, but no, Gishki is like a main part of the strategy, and being able to like get out the ritual monsters. I think you can get the Omni Negate, the new one out twice as well if you do search the trap card, which is really powerful. And if you back that up with a couple of hand traps, maybe even a Toad, if you're allowed to extend that far, I think it's going to be really strong.
It's quite insane, and it's water. It's the Gishkis are water, so Toad adds them back. So we all in the consensus. We'll put in that one to watch then. Definitely going to be an interesting deck to see moving forward. So I think it's very funny that Konami released a card called Two Elements Kashtira, because it makes my job super easy. So that's what this card specifically represents. It represents Two Elements Kashtira as a deck. Where do we think that is going to sit?
100% tier 1.
I don't
think in anyone else's mind. Like I think we can kind of get it out of the way, can't we? With like Shizu tier.
Where's it? Let me just
pure tier and stuff like that.
Kashtira can definitely go up there as well.
I think it's really just a case of what's going to be the bet, which I still think tier. I think pure Ishizu tier is still going to be the best variant by far.
Yes, 100%.
But Kashtira tier is still a very, very good deck. Again, does a lot of interesting stuff. I think the biggest thing about that is just giving tier so many new starters. Like, they've got the new field spell, they've got Two Elements Kashtira, Fenrir becomes a flipping starter for tier now. Like, it's quite bad. Like, so definitely going to be a really, really big jump up for the deck.
I think just giving the deck like the ability to not only like end on like tier limit end board, but also be able to like either end on like a unicorn and like rip your opponent's extra deck, as well as like just being able to like make your unbeatable board. But like just having access to like the good rank 7 pool and like a Rise Heart, which is just okay, I'm playing the mirror match, cool, I'll make my board and then you can't play the game. Best deck, friend. Like, it's ridiculous.
Really insane.
I saw people say it was counterproductive to play a Rise Heart in Kashtira, like Kashtira tier, and I was like, "What are you on about? You literally just make it at the end. Like, you don't care, because next time you're just pushing through and killing them anyway. Like, the deck's nuts. Like, I've tested it a little bit with some of our friends, and it is legitimately like just
very,
ban
good.
like ban Rhino Heart or something. I don't know.
Another interesting thing, and the funny thing is, this is my first introduction to the deck. The deck can legitimately attempt to deck you out in on your so on turn 0, Kashtira part of the deck will banish 10 cards from your deck. Then the Ishizu cards will mill 10 cards, 10 to 15, including 2 elements Kashtira, and then it goes to your turn. So turn 0 they do that, goes to your turn. Diablosis is going to banish another 10 cards, and then their Shizu Shufflers can do that again. And so I remember the first time I played it, they made a board, they had Baron, Arise Heart, blah, blah, and then on my turn I had 3 cards left in my deck. Yeah, I had cards in the grave to play with, but I had 3 cards left in my deck, so he used his Shizu Shufflers back, put 2 cards back, then milled the rest, and I just lost. I couldn't play. It didn't matter if I broke his board, because I just lost. So I think that's also really interesting about the 2 elements Kashtira strategy. Yeah, so yeah, but definitely I think these are all going to be good. I personally think Kashtira is the worst of the tier 1 decks. I think, in fact, I would go as far as to say, in my opinion, it's probably high tier 2. I think tier 1 is just 2 elements. I don't know what you guys think, but I think Kashtira, while really good, has a couple of really glaring weaknesses that just mean it won't compete. I think I don't know if you guys saw the Logan JYA tournament, the tournament he did post Phantom Rage, and I think the finals of that tournament was 2 elements as Kashtira, and to me it just really highlighted how the 2 elements player, they got shifted and stuff, and they just still won, because it's every game they just made Zeus, cleared the board, and then they just played 2 elements and they won. So
I think for me, I don't think worry, but I think with Kashtira it would be when Sprite came to the TCG, and everyone was really this deck is fucking insane, and yeah, it is, but I don't know, compared to Tier, Sprite almost felt a bit. I can't think what the word is. I don't want to say Sprite flop, because I don't think it flopped by any means. But I can see Kashtira being not being pure Kashtira is not necessarily living up to the full hype, if that makes sense.
I agree.
I think it's going to be a good deck, and anyone who doesn't think it is, anyone who doesn't think it's going to be a good deck is just what you're on about. But I don't think it'll be as nuts as Ishizu Tier was, for example. Ishizu Tier was clapping its ass everywhere in the OCG. So
yeah.
I personally think as well, though, with the Kashtira deck is that the same argument with Sprite is that we haven't really been able to, in the most anime way to say it possible, harness the true power of Kashtira. And I don't mean that. I don't mean to sound like the anime protagonist, right? But,
yeah,
I get what you mean.
I feel like we're taking the information from the ACG. And we're trying to directly implant it into the TCG, and there's not really enough experimentation going on. And I mean, moving forward, I actually think Sprite coming towards the end of the format has become a way stronger deck, because people are finding out actual different things that the OCG weren't doing that they can do in the TCG, which creates a more unfair interaction, right? And I think that's going to happen. Personally, I think that's going to happen with Kashtira. Is right now we see it as, oh yes, we can combo end on Macrocosmos, end on this, end on that. The rank 7s, it can banish a couple of cards out of the extra, banish cards from the deck, and then that's kind of it. Whereas I think as we move further on, we'll realize that there are actually certain tech cards and certain builds of the deck that are just better than the pure variant.
Yeah, and so based on that, Tom, whereabouts would you say you think Sprite is as well? Would you say Sprite then again higher tier 2? Would you say it's really low tier 1? Whereabouts would you put Sprite?
I want to say it's really low tier 1. I think it's still a very strong deck. I want to just give a shout out to my teammate Tyler. He has been playing this deck so much, and watching him play it, and if you put it in a good player's hands, they can absolutely pile drive any opponent.
Yeah.
If they know the deck well and they know the ins and outs of it, I see that guy 2-0 Ishizu Tier with his eyes closed, and it's meant to be a really hard matchup.
I think the thing with Sprite as well. Sorry, Tom, to cut you off.
No, you're all right. I was just gonna say and I think with the knowledge of that, if we're looking at this as everyone's kind of playing on the same level, I definitely think Sprite still has a chance. Even playing against Kashtira, they play multiples of the stuff in the extra, their important cards in the extra deck anyways. So the Unicorn and the Diablosis trying to rip stuff isn't going to matter. And they were siding D-Shifter for half the format. So realistically, what is a Rise Heart going to be doing anyways? It's not really going to affect them. That's just my personal opinion on it. Obviously, we can see how things pan out as Photon Hypernova releases. But to me, it just doesn't seem like Sprite gets hurt at all by Kashtira coming into the format.
I think, sorry to just jump in here, Dan. I think the biggest thing for me is an avid Sprite player, well, a really good Sprite player will adapt their deck list to whatever the format is suggesting is going to be.
Yeah.
And so we know that obviously Joshua Smith, fantastic player. We've seen like Nimble Sunfish just go through the roof just because Sprite have got the ability to just kind of be very, very flexible. And I think that's what makes it a tier 1 deck. It's the fact that it can be played in a number of ways, and any number of techs that synergize with the archetype just helps push it like way beyond what you would have thought it could have achieved. You forget what I'm saying? So for that reason, I do agree. I think it's like a tier 1 deck in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah, you boys pretty much just summed up what I was going to say in it. So yeah, to have to
Also,
agree.
if we look at like the deck building, if you realistically think about Sprite, it's like what, 3 blue, 3 jet, 3 starter, 1 red, 1 carrot,
Smashes.
smashes, pixies if you want to play it, double cross as well, and then the
So
rest
much
is
room
just,
for
like, whatever
text in
you
it.
want.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
you
yeah.
can literally play like the hard counters. You can play the Chaos Hunter. You
Yeah.
have access to obviously like the Madakin Cat engine where you can chew it out from the deck and stuff. Like there's a lot of room for like kind of creativity, innovation,
Yeah.
variation.
Yeah.
That's the word I was looking for. That's the actual word I was looking for. Variation. There is so much space for variation in that deck that I think like it can really adapt to any format, which is just reinforcing what Jimothy's saying.
100%.
Fabs, I've just noticed why is Mystic Mine on here?
Yeah, so because I'm lazy and I don't make extra thumbnails, Mystic Mine represents stall and burn decks. That's basically what it represents.
Based.
Yeah, I'm just
Based
really lazy. I'm just
KNG.
I'm just really lazy and can't be bothered to wave motion cannon instead. But basically, that represents stall and burn.
Done.
Yeah, it's like anything that basically is like I'm not really playing the game. That's Mystic Mine. That's what Mystic Mine is representing.
One bad day.
Yeah, right. So we're gonna talk about we're gonna try and not look, guys. I don't know if you guys know, Neshi is a friend of the show now, so we do have to put some respect on this deck now. So Crystal Beasts, where's Crystal Beast gonna be sitting next to? Look,
No, I actually rate Crystal Beast. I can't
Yeah,
even lie.
the deck is legitimately sick. So like I've been testing the deck since the structure deck came out. I've been talking with Neshi about the deck going forward. Like it's one of those decks where if there's a broken field spell like in the format, Necro Valley, Zombie World, Secret Village, what have you, Crystal Beast is just going to be so good at it. And I think Crystal Beast is like it's such a concise control deck in like it's not a huge engine of cards you have to play. Yeah. It's got a lot of space for like side decking and things like that. It's incredibly consistent in that you have maybe 10 ways to get to your initial play of like ending on just a rank 4. That all the spells and traps are bonkers. Like they're all insane. Like I just think the actual problem is that the Crystal Beast monsters themselves just aren't great. Yeah. But I think it's not going to be as powerful in this format coming up as it was, purely because I think decks like Kashtira are going to give it a really hard time. But I legitimately think Crystal Beast is the best budget deck out at the moment, and I'd definitely put it in Rogue.
Yeah. I'd agree with Rogue.
I would even push for low tier 2. Like if that deck goes first, I know this is like a massive reach, but like think about how strong a lot of the field spells are in the format. And
of course.
Like you said, the spell traps are bonkers, and also that deck can search Magical Meltdown and normal summon Alistair.
Do you know what? I was thinking more like that deck can search Prime Planet and then get your cash. That's you can search Prime Planet and get
So I think the
if you want to
biggest
just
thing
do
for me,
full tier combo, like in the middle of
I'll be 100% honest. I think that's one of the strongest things about Crystal Beast, and it's probably why I would put it in tier 2, is the fact that it can whole load of stuff before it commits to its Crystal Beast plays. I was at the regional where I think Gabriel Metz just done some mad pile deck, but when I was walking around the room, I seen a Crystal Beast player combo went off and he played into a board, and he went for about 2 or 3 interruptions, and then he just hit his Crystal Beast play. So like he started with like a Fenrir or something like that, or a Unicorn, baited out a couple of negates with that. I believe he had a field spell in hand, baited a negate with that, and then he just went full Crystal Beast combo. I think that's really strong. Like you said about the field spells, I think for that reason I'd put it in tier 2, because the engine's 11 cards in terms of monsters. And then you've got the spells and traps which search it. You're looking at about a 22 card engine. So just like Sprite, you can put in whatever you want, whatever meets the meta face on,
I
basically.
mean, I was trying to be humble about the rogue in it, but if you guys are pushing for tier 2, like I'm not gonna dissuade that at all.
Yeah,
so,
I straight up have I have mad respect for Crystal Beast. I actually think like it can do so much, and like people just aren't prepared for it because they just laugh it off in it because they see normal summon Sapphire Pegasus lol, and it's like no, it actually does a lot. Like it genuinely can do. It can do bits, and like it's something to be feared, especially if you're going second, playing Tier Elements, and they go activate Necro Valley, and you're like okay.
Yeah, guys, legit. If you want a strong budget deck, go pick up Crystal Beast.
Yeah, 100% agree. Right, so the next deck we're going to talk about is Plunder Patrol. Plunder Patrol. Guys, if Plunder if Plunder gets a wind ship,
come on, bro.
yeah, if Plunder gets a wind ship, I'm telling you now, tier 1 gang, bro.
Yeah.
We about to be on it.
I think for now I'm a bit biased. This is actually my favorite deck in the game.
Jeez.
I'd potentially put it in Rogue. And that's only purely because I don't know what the format's going to be looking like. I know we got a ban list looming, but the deck does a lot of things, and everyone's talking about it can special summon a deck. But I'll be honest, summoning a token and flipping Rivalry of the Warlords.
It's
strong,
yeah.
That's a problem.
I think that's
like,
one of the biggest things I think Plunder has this format in that. So Kashtira, obviously, they need an empty board to play. And Plunder can just be like, all right, take this token and hold that. And then, as you said, if they can play both Rivalry and Gozen, like they prefer Rivalry, obviously, because the ships are different attributes, but because they can play both, flip it. And then before the Kashtira player even tries to do anything, just flip Rivalry. Now they're double screwed. So,
GG, isn't it?
Yeah. I think this is one of the rogue decks that, in my opinion, has one of the best matchups against Kashtira, because the other thing as well is, if I'm not mistaken, they put both a dark and a fire on the board, if I'm not mistaken, right? Because Shangri-La is a fire and then Arise Heart is a dark. Two of their best ships, the Spell and Trap Pop, which is going to be popping the D-shifters and stuff, is a fire, and the Merc, which is the Banish, is a dark. So, I mean... the
thing I'll say about Plunder as well is because me and Adam have been talking about this deck. Shout out Adam. And this deck can go second really well because it can main 15 tech cards. You can play 15 hand traps, 15 board breakers, 15 whatever. I legitimately think it's going to be a tier 2 deck. Maybe it's cope, I don't know, but the deck is strong, man.
Also, it plays duplicates as well. Plunder's always play duplicates.
Exactly,
you play 3 of every main deck card. Even the extra deck, you play at least 2 of every single one, because a lot of the cards do lock you into Plunder. So I really do think I'm actually going to put in 1 to watch, but in terms of power level, I agree that it would be low tier 2. If anything, like I always say, if you're a deck that can play Desires, basically, you're probably a deck that doesn't have a bad matchup against Kashtira.
But for the love of God, don't activate Pot of Desires.
Yeah, but don't actually play it. Yeah, the idea is that Kashtira is playing Desires for you. That's the idea. So they're going to banish your deck and benefit off it. You don't play it. Otherwise, Diablosis. My gosh. I
also think like this deck just having access to like the Brave engine.
Yeah.
Are we just ignoring the fact that is one of the best engines in the game? And,
I did think that, but I just feel like with the way that Kashtira are just going to be just blasting your main deck, I just feel like you're going to miss, like, I don't know, a Draco back, or do you know what I mean? Something's going to go missing. But
I kind of unironically feel like you could play, but I unironically think you could, like, hear me out. Yeah, you could unironically play 3 Fateful Adventure in this.
Yeah.
That's a conversation for another video, man.
No. I know. Okay.
Wait. Sorry. Which one's Fateful Adventure? Is the equip? Is that the one, or which one's Fateful Adventure?
No, that's the continuous.
The continuous.
You can have a discussion in the comments down below, but I want to just put my point forward, yeah. Because the whole reason why like Brave Plunder was good is because like the interaction between Fateful Adventure and the monsters, right? Because whenever they're equipped, they can't die by battle once per turn.
Yeah.
Which is like actually really okay, because sometimes you're putting so much pressure on your opponent.
Yeah.
They can't out it with like other effects, so they have to punch into it.
Yeah.
And I actually played against it at locals yesterday, and that basically lost me. Like it lost me the game 1. I ended up winning the match luckily, but like the game 1, it was super grindy.
Yeah.
And I just forget Fateful Adventure does that. I punch into his Moerk. He's like, yeah, okay, I'll take 500, and then just leaves it on board. And I'm like, yes, Fateful's a thing.
Yeah.
And like I'm not saying you should play 3 Faithful. I want to just clarify that. But you could
talking
argue,
about.
like,
Sounds spicy, bro.
Play more copies.
Yeah.
You could play more copies on its own, which could always fetch you the stuff that you do need. because you always get into Enchantress pretty much.
Yeah.
Maybe 2. 2's probably a better play.
There was a point
conversation for
when
another
that Red Rose deck was playing like 2 as well. So yeah, I can see an argument for playing at least 2 to be honest.
I was playing 2 in the Punk deck. So.
Yeah, but yeah, so Plunder's another one to watch tier 2. Then let's move on to Mekanko. This deck is so sick. I am excited because in my opinion, and we're gonna talk about Dogmatica Zoa after this. I think this is a sign that Konami is ready for us to have a tier 0 ritual format because they keep making ritual decks stronger and stronger and stronger. I'm telling you guys, 2024 is the year of the blue cards, bro. You guys will be shocked. It'll be legendary. But Mekanko, I'm definitely going to say Mekanko is like a mid-tier 2 deck. Like, it's a good combo deck.
Are you talking Mekanko like the based build or like? Because I don't know what pure Mekanko does if it does anything.
I've seen 2 different Mekanko right now hasn't got enough cards in my opinion to really play it pure. So there's 2 different variants of the deck. I've seen the based build and then I've seen just kind of Mekanko Libromancer. I'm putting them both in kind of the same place, even though the base build is probably a bit better. But
I think the primary difference between the 2 is that literally one plays Adventurer with like a Magician Souls package. Extra cards to flesh that out, and then Mekanko Libromancer is just like a 40 to 45 card version without the Adventurer stuff. So there's not too much in terms of variation, but like arguably the 60 card version is better because it plays like it plays a free negate, it plays like extenders to let you draw and stuff.
There's things you can do in it. Things you can do.
So, funnily enough, Joshua Schmidt, and now this is just Mekanko by itself. Joshua Schmidt even showed how the Mekanko cards are actually incredible, like so good that he was showing how in any deck that plays the Ishizus, the Mekanko is amazing because Mekanko to elements, your opponent summons a bestial, you use her effect, you summon out whatever. I feel like her name is Mekanko. Is it Mekanko or is it not? I don't know. Anyway, you summon out the main ritual monster. She sends a card.
Ohime.
Yeah, Ohime. She sends an equip to the grave. You take their bestial, and now you've got a rank 6, and you do full tier combo. And it's like it's insane the potential. She's level 6. She's level 6, and and obviously the way she works is she adds the quick play, and then discards a card. So add quick play, discard a Guido, quick play, summon her out. Do you see what I'm saying? Yeah. It's legendary. Like,
you're blowing my mind.
This is not me. Sorry, I said Joshua Schmidt. Sorry, it was Jesse Cotton. Sorry, showing this. But yeah, like the Mekanko cards are amazing. Arabesque is a stupidly OP card. Like, it's actually insane. Like search bounce. Like what? Just like imagine you have a bit of a problem with their Shangri-La. All right, calm. Just equip Arabesque. I'm gonna search and bounce your thing. Like nutty. Yeah, I think the Mekanko cards are just so good, and also just the whole gimmick of Ninja Shadow Mosquito but a whole deck is very, very frustrating to play against. Like if you might get excited you've got like a 3500 Shangri-La on the board, but I'm telling you now they're going to attack into that with confidence and then you're going to lose. So yeah, Mekanko definitely I'd say mid-tier very good deck.
Yeah, I think I'd be happy with that. I can see that being like kind of like how Punk kind of went from being like the leftover deck from Grand Creators to end up being like arguably the best deck of its format. I could see Mekanko going like a similar sort of route maybe, but time will tell. Time will tell. The deck does seem to be strong from what I've seen though, 100%.
So what I'm gonna do, because I do want us to, there's some decks I do want us to actually spend more time on, is I'm gonna rapid fire shoot through like 10 or 15 decks, which I don't think are relevant. If you guys have an opinion, just shout. In fact, we're just going to go around and you guys just shout out whatever you think decks are. So Sky Strike is the first one, guys. Sorry, Sky Strike is an irrelevant deck now. I'm going to say Sky Strike is
Rogue at best. Rogue at best.
Burn/Store decks I'm going to say are non-meta right now because Runic exists. Dragons, I think right now are Rogue, but one of the things about Dragons is I do think they get better as the format goes on, and I think the new Bistol stuff will be nice. So I'm saying Rogue for now. Eventually will probably climb up to tier 2. Anyone disagree?
I'd put it in one to watch personally because I think Dragon Link is like one of them decks that if the pilot's nuts, like the deck's gonna go far.
Yeah, that's true. As well.
I'd put it in one to watch just because of the chaos support as well. Like
that's true as well.
That's very true. It does get, again, like I said, it always gets better over time as people get the deck more and more and more. Runic, I'm going to say tier 2 because I think it actually has a good Kashtira matchup. I think that's the main thing advantage it has.
Runic gets stronger the weaker Ishizu tiers gets. But if you want to play a deck that doesn't, if you want to play an anti-meta deck, just play Runic. It's the best one.
100%. Sun Avalon, I think, is overrated. I've been saying it for years. It's just that people don't understand the power of a single seed. That's literally it. But Sun Avalon is very, very overrated. But I'm going to say it's Rogue personally because it relies on the graveyard, and well, good luck using your graveyard against a Shizu. Sword Soul I'm actually going to put, I would say, is tier 2 probably. I think compact small engine. It doesn't lose too much to Shifter and Banishing. It doesn't lose too hard to Kashtira. It can break boards like a motherfucker. Like, yeah, low tier 2.
Yeah, I would agree.
Anyone
There
disagree?
was a lot of Sword Soul at the last region I went to, definitely.
No, I think tier 2 is fair. I think I'd say it's low tier 2.
Yeah, low tier 2. I'd put it at the bottom of tier 2. I think. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Virtual World unfortunately does not exist. It's terrible. I'm very upset about that deck.
Get wrecked.
It makes me Virtual World. By the way, guys, Virtual World. You know, actually, I am going to spend a tiny bit of time. Virtual World should be amazing this format. It is a deck. Again, it wouldn't lose hard to Kashtira. It is one of the few decks that can recover banished cards. So who cares if Diablosis? I can play one of every copy because every turn I'm getting a face down banished card. But it's just flipping bricky. Like you could just when you open a hand full of 6 level 6s and then you lose. I mean, it's just really sad.
Just don't brick forehead. Just don't brick.
Virtual makes me sad because that deck should be so much better. Labyrinth. So I think this is one we should actually discuss. Labyrinth. I'm willing to say that it's probably mid to low tier 2, just because it's the only trap deck that is really playable right now.
I agree with that.
I can't express exactly how I feel about this deck because I haven't seen enough of because the new trap comes out and
that's
trap
good.
Makes the deck good,
very, very good.
Right. So I think unless I just want to express my opinion from what I've seen previously before the new trap is the deck can actually do a lot of stuff that can it can play a lot of good generic traps. It doesn't have to play entirely archetypal stuff. And they plus off of that because of Lord of the Heavenly Prison and just the lovely lady, she gets to set another trap from the deck right whenever a normal trap resolves. So they are probably one of the best trap decks to benefit off of good normal traps, obviously aside from Altergeist. But obviously we'll talk about that when the time comes. But I also think having the big beaters and not having to play so many archetypal traps that do kind of not much gives that deck a big boost.
Also, not caring about the Diabolus is strong as well, isn't it? Because every Labyrinth deck I've seen play, it's Extravagance or Prosper or something. It doesn't seem like they care very much about the extra deck. But the deck's nuts. It's a trap deck, but it can snowball and just put on a lot of damage, man.
Yeah, it's fast.
I'd say if you're gonna play a trap deck, just stick this up.
I would say it's definitely tier 2. It could potentially be higher, but I just feel like going second against a well-established Kashtira Tier Elements player, they're just gonna lock your back row up.
Torrential Strike ain't gonna cut it either.
It's not enough. Do you know what I mean? But definitely the best trap deck in my opinion. Eldritch is just no.
Yeah, Eldritch is.
Eldritch
players, guys.
Just put him there. No,
it's peak for you.
Yeah, I think it's one to watch.
Watch him get banned to the Netherworld.
Madolche, I don't think really changed. I think Madolche is a good deck, but I think that no, let me rephrase that. I think Madolche has good matchups, but I think it fundamentally has the same issues as before, which is that it's quite easily stopped. With the basically one play.
Madolche.
Yeah, so somewhere mid rogue. It's not an amazing deck. I'd say it's better than everything else in rogue, but not amazing. Drytron. We don't talk about that deck.
Yeah, that deck's a horrible deck, man.
It's so sad. Dinos, I think, is... So I've heard 2 or 3 people claim that Dinos is supposedly sleeper this format. I don't see it. Can anyone explain it to me?
UCT book the whole field.
But what if they look up all your...
claiming Book of Eclipse, Swords of Concealing Light.
But what if they look up your whole board? And also, you're playing Dinos, so you have 2 starters.
But Dinos can main blind second cards. Yeah.
True,
also, going
first.
It's one of the best going second decks in the game, man.
And going first, this deck gives you a token.
Okay, actually, it does give you. You know what? You guys are convincing me more and more and more. You convince me more and more and more. Yeah.
Unironically, I think Dinos is it's if you want to play an aggressive rogue deck next format, Dinos it's the wave, man.
Okay.
As much as I hate to admit it, because
blasphemy
off the face of the earth. but
Yeah, in my head, I just didn't see her.
Every copy
For me, it just feels so inconsistent. But I guess it does have some tools. I guess that's true. That is true.
yeah,
Okay,
it's
so
better
what?
than fucking Madolche for sure.
I guess technically, like, it's also a deck that doesn't entirely care. Like, unless you're playing the scrap engine and you're going for that variant, it doesn't entirely care about the extra deck, right? So if you're going
no,
second,
you don't.
like, okay, yes, you can lose Dolka, you can lose Lagia. Yes, those are very important cards to your strategy, but it's not integral. Like, sometimes just summon UCT, flip all the guys down. I have 2 guys, make Pentastag, kill, kill, kill. Like, it's enough.
It's a strong deck, man, for sure.
Okay, so are we saying high rogue then? We're saying high rogue.
I'd say high rogue, yeah.
Cool, no problem.
It's the deck that Grandmatry wishes it could be, which is just not good.
I was gonna say Grandmaji should be good this format, but it's just not realistically. It just doesn't. Normal summoning a monster is just not enough anymore. Unfortunately, it's quite sad. Yeah, Grandmaji, I don't know, somewhere low rogue or non-meta.
Non-meta, I'd say, bro. Non-meta.
Yeah, that's fine. Then Tri Brigades. So Tri Brigades is another one that I think we could have a little bit of a chat about. I think Tri Brigades does get kind of support in context of the branded cards, and I guess we'll talk about branded after Tri Brigade. And then also it's got a bit of synergy with Sprite. So where do you think Tri Brigade sits?
Personally, I put Tri Brigade. I put Tri Brigade in the same sort of bracket as Sword Soul. Like, it's got 15 slots. It's a deck that's super consistent in what it does. It's a very fair deck, but like, it's also like, it's a deck that you're going to be okay with playing it over a long period of time, right? Like, it's not overtly complicated, but it does reward those players. If we're talking about the pure variant, that is, or like the Sprite variant, the Bird Up version, like, I don't have Tom's really the person to ask about that. But I'd put Tri Brigade low tier too, 100%.
Yeah, I think even with Bird Up, like, going second into Kashtira, you can lose a lot of your really good extra deck stuff because with the Bird Up extra, it's so tight. Like, you're playing 2 Starling always because, like, that's the like, it's your best combo starter. And then you have space for like 1 Zeus package and then like 1 Bearber and 1 Ferrigit. And like, that's kind of it. And then like, you have 2 Shureg, which is the only 2 of you're playing. So it just loses really hard to to things like Diablosis and Unicorn.
And I'm still thinking it of like tier elements as well. Once they see a Tri Brigade monster hit the graveyard, that stuff is getting shuffled like party rock. Like, it's not coming back. You know what I mean? They're gonna see birds in the graveyard or whatever, and they just know that you're not gonna be able to have any plays if your graveyard's not full. Let alone playing into like a macrocosmos, which means that you're just not doing anything anyway. It's good going first. I do agree, but I think going into boards, I think it struggles a little bit, and that's probably why I would drop it a tier, just because
making it sure going second, it's hard, isn't it?
That's what I mean. It's difficult. It's got the same power level as like Soto, but just in terms of its plays, I just feel like no one's gonna let you play.
I think the biggest difference between decks like between a deck like Tri Brigade and a deck like Sword Soul is that, like, they have very similar monsters, right? Because you have your normal summon being like Moyi, and then they have like any normal summon, and then they have the Keras and the Longyan. So they have stuff like that. But I think the impact of the Sword Soul synchros and just having 10 years as your subsidiary engine, they just provide so much more advantage in terms of like having Vishuda being able to bounce back problem cards, Ashuna being able to tutor stuff out from the deck. Whereas, like,
the recycling with Adhara as well.
Yeah, exactly. You have so much more longevity. Whereas, like, with the Tri Brigade deck, like, I'm going to speak from like the Bird Up perspective because that's how I know the deck mostly. You lose a lot of gas very quickly because you're banishing everything, and like typically you're playing maybe 1 to 2 Revolt because you're only really playing 2 Shureg. And like, yes, okay, you can summon Warbler, summon the Cobalt, get a search, make an Exceeds, get a search, but you can't really get them out, unlike the 10 years and stuff. So I feel like in terms of longevity, the Sword Soul has the better deck. I feel like in terms of the power level of the synchros, Sword Soul has the better extra deck. But in terms of me like the deck, please put Tri Brigade in tier 1, please. I want it to be tier 1.
Right.
Real talk, though, I think it's Rogue. I think it's a good Rogue choice because like that new Link 5 is actually kind of bussin'. But
what was that, Bucephalus or something like that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Bucephalus to
Trobigate
the
Bussy.
second or whatever.
Yeah. Right. Okay,
Yeah,
so
moving on. Let's just...
let's quickly talk about the Cyburst pile. So we got Salad, Marincess, Mathmech, and Ignista, all the Cyburst decks. Basically, I'm of the opinion that Ignist and Mathmech are the worst ones, just because they play lights and darks. So they're kind of arse.
Salad is mid. Salad doesn't do anything.
Yeah, do you know what it is about? Unfortunately, I think Salad, it has potential, but I think it's still not. I think they actually do need all of their cards unbanned before they could be relevant.
See, like I like Salad. I like Salad because again, in terms of like pretty much all of these decks, like all of the Cyburst decks, they can play a ton of hand traps, and they have a very small engine, which I think is kind of flavor of the month right now, right? Because as we've said with Sword Soul, we've said it with Crystal Beast, like a lot of these good decks have so much space for extra stuff. The biggest problem with Salamangreat is that the rest of their board is so low impact.
Yeah,
if
that's
they,
true.
they can hand trap you 5 times. If you still land on a couple of guys and maybe a negate, what are they doing? Access code with 2 attacks. It's gonna get stopped. So I feel like that's way lower. I also feel like Ignista's a little bit lower because again,
Ignista's peak this format because people are tributing stuff all the time.
Yeah,
like Lava Golem, Spear Mode, like,
and also it's
more than one monster.
Yeah, and it just gets banished out your extra deck anyway. Like,
well, yeah,
it's a bit peak.
Yeah.
I personally think Mathmech and Marincess are the 2 best ones.
Really?
I think Marincess is better than Mathmech personally.
Oh yeah, 100% that. Yeah.
Yeah, because Marincess does everything that Mathmech was doing before the Bestials came out.
Yeah, that's it. Marincess is just Mathmech but water, basically. Like it's Marincess and Mathmech. I think they're the same deck in that they have one trap and then the rest of the deck is just generic Cyber stuff. Salad and Ignista do unique things as Cyburst decks, but Ignista's bad. And Salad, I do agree that it is a bit weak. Like it needs more. Like it needs more. So I guess we'll put them all they're somewhere in Rogue. It might not be correct, but they're somewhere in Rogue. I just want to give fun fact of the day, by the way, with Marincess, in case you guys didn't know. If you summon Zealantis after you waterlock yourself and banish the entire field, if any of your opponent's monsters aren't water, they don't summon back.
Yeah, because you perform the summon, don't you?
Yeah.
Quite so for the viewers at home as well
that
might not know that, if you ever want to play Marincess, that's the play.
Good play.
Buy Zealantis now, innit?
Zealantis buyout. Let's go.
All right, so purely somewhere non-meta right now. It's got potential, but hasn't got enough cards. So that's why I'm going to put it somewhere non-meta. The Synchro Rose Dragon stuff is not relevant, so we don't talk about that. So it's somewhere non-meta as well.
It's somewhere in it.
Yeah. Punk. I'm actually going to say it's Rogue. It's okay. It's got abilities, but
dodges the Bestials a little bit though, doesn't it?
Yeah, they dodge the Bestials. You can play them with Kashtira. There is a Kashtira like variant of that deck, and
that's
also
what I'm playing at the moment.
Gold Pride Kashtira is a thing.
You know what? I didn't put Gold Pride on this list, but we'll talk about that at the end because I actually don't know what Gold Pride does. I completely forgot about.
I don't either. I just know that if your life points are lower than your opponent's, you can summon them. And they do stuff, which obviously you go normal summon pay 600, and then they're like, Veiler, and then you're like, okay, anyways, summon Gold Pride, do stuff.
Oh, so this is like the perfect deck with Dynamorphia in it.
Yeah,
kind of, yeah. Like I think there's a lot of like different archetypes that it works with, like anything that pays life points.
DDD, I can say. So I've actually been testing DDD a lot. They're just bad. Don't play them. I was testing them because I didn't want to play this. I wasn't testing them because I thought they would be good.
Then he put them in Rogue.
Yeah. Actually, I'd even say non-meta. DDD they're just bad. Don't play them, unfortunately. However,
DD dead.
We've got a DD surprise for you guys later on. You'll see. Then. That sounded best suspect, but don't worry, guys. You'll see what I mean. ABCs, I don't like this deck, but I would say they're probably low Rogue or something. I don't know. Again, all of the stuff in Rogue, please, no one in the comments come at me. I don't care. It doesn't beat tier. I don't care that much. I'm probably wrong about the exact placement. It's fine. Altergeist, low Rogue, non-meta. Mystic Mind doesn't exist anymore, actually, so I'd probably say they're non-meta because they just don't do anything special as a trap deck. Vernisylph, Naturia, Earth Pile, Ishizu variants. I'd put them high Rogue, low tier 2. I would say is where they are. Like they're all doing they're basically it's the other Ishizu deck basically, and I think they're actually not bad. yeah, I'd say low. I'd say the Vernasil focused ones. One thing I would say though about Vera the Vernasil Goddess is that she's very, very unique because she can negate effects mid-chain essentially. That's the biggest thing about her. So essentially, let's say your opponent tries to chain block something. Her negate, the way it works is it happens on resolution as opposed to on activation or on effect. So as the chain is resolving, you can choose when to negate it. This isn't an effect that she activates. And because of that, it makes her very, very... she has a lot of potential if we ever get a good enough Earth spammy deck. We haven't, unfortunately, yet. Naturia, I would say, is the strong one, somewhere low tier 2, nothing special. Then Dark World is the crappy tier, so just play tier, don't play Dark World. So, yeah, as much as I love it. Right, so 5 more decks to talk about, and that's why I wanted to rush through it so we can talk about the 5 best decks. And start off with Branded. I think Branded is probably the best tier 2 deck. Actually, I'd say it's the second best tier 2 deck after Flunder, in my opinion. I think
you could even. I actually think this deck could even be pushing tier 1.
Yeah, I would even agree with that.
This deck has so much power.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not even just like branded fusion anymore, right? Which
Yeah.
is like the big thing. Like the reason the deck fell off was because like you stop the branded fusion, they don't really do anything unless they have poly.
Yeah.
Whereas now they have branded fusion, they have Cartesia, they have the poly, they have the Field's Birth, they even want to fucking play that. I don't know why they'd want to play it, but they can. You know, and then also like the bestial stuff can get you to branded lost quicker, so you're not having to worry about your stuff getting negated. Like, I think the deck is very much pushing tier 1, and it's just waiting for someone to like. It's waiting for the new Andres Torres, I think. Yeah. For someone to just like study the deck, break it just that little bit more, and then it pushes itself back into tier 1.
100% agree. 100% agree. I think branded has huge potential.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, sorry.
The thing I like about Branded, I was just going to say, the thing I like about Branded is now I feel like Branded will be super rewarding to the pilots who fucking love the deck. Like, it's not literally just AirPods Mirror Jade anymore. It's actually like there's mad decision trees you have to there's mad decision trees you have to think about in it. Like, it's not just like, oh, let's summon a fucking banish. It's like, oh, okay, I've actually got loads of different things that we can do, and like with the bestial stuff as well. I think the deck's like pretty pog, man. I'd make an argument for it being probably say it's the worst tier 1 deck, but that sounds like it's taking the piss, but it's not. Like, you get what I mean?
But I agree. It is. I would basically, because there's one deck that I would say that is definitely stronger than Branded, which is Flunder, and I'd say, but after that, I'd say it's probably going to be the worst tier 1 deck, but still a very good deck. Still has potential. I fully expect to see at least one person topping with it. Good deck. So yeah, we talk about Flunder. Flunder's the other shifter deck. It's worse than Kashtira. Well, I wouldn't even say it's worse. I would say that it has. In this format right now, Kashtira has more good matchups because it can FTK better than Flunder. But there are some matchups which Flunder still does better than Kashtira, and Flunder itself is also easy to play. I say it all the time, look, if I'm going to an 11-round tournament and I'm playing Flunder and you're playing tier, bro, you're going to be stressed at the end of that 11 rounds with your tier mirrors. I am going to be smart. These guys saw me at an event with Flunder. I was calm, bro. I was calm.
You were chilling all
I was
day,
normal summon Rabina all day, and it just worked. I was against a tier guy in round 5, and I just felt so bad for him because he was stressed as I shifted him and stuff. And then I just normal summoned Rabina and won. Like, it was peak.
To be fair, you beat me in that last round, which obviously brings us on to the next round, which is Exorcista.
Yeah.
Just play Flunder. Just play Flunder.
Like,
just play Flunder.
This is a bit of you, Timothy. Like, I've been watching your videos about the deck, and it seems like you really like it, but you're just sad about like the fact it's not where it needs to be.
It's upsetting, man. Yeah. Like, I feel like they're shy of one card. Like, I know I've said this before. Just something else. Like, you burn for a lot of resources. There's no recursion. Your engine's small, and like, what are you doing if your stuff gets Diablosis? Like, nothing.
Yeah. That's really what I think about Exorcista. Like, it just doesn't. It has a good-ish. I wouldn't even say it has an amazing tier matchup anymore because tier's so fast now. So it's like it has an okay-ish good tier matchup, and then that's about it. Everything else just doesn't really care about getting banished this format, which is a bit sad. Rescue Ace is crap. Yeah.
Bro, this is the best deck to do nothing. Boss Monster sets 4 cards from the main deck.
Yeah,
it is rubbish. I like it.
That's what's so sad. I saw set 4 and I was like, whoa, like so much potential. And
it's fun. Like, it's fun as fuck, but like
then the 4 cards it sets are bad, so like
you know what? 2 of them aren't even that bad, yeah? It's the fact that you have to control the tiny fire hydrant.
Yeah.
Like, you need that for it to be good. That's what makes it suck.
Yeah, Rescue Ace is bad. Just, I don't know. Maybe Konami will give us some more good spells and traps. And then lastly, look, I actually genuinely think that the new Dogmatica Ritual deck is definitely low tier 2, and this is just because of one card, and that's Dogmatrix. Dogmatrix says this: if your opponent controls a monster, search a Ritual monster and a Dogmatica card. Now, the new Ritual spell lets you Ritual summon by sending materials from the extra deck to the graveyard. Dogmatica Zoa, which is the Ritual monster, lets you basically completely eviscerate your opponent's extra deck. You can send like 6 cards in the first turn, and then also Dogmatrix lets you send another one. Just the fact
Deck
that
is lifetime.
yeah, off one card, just the fact that they can do that, I think, is amazing. And then in addition to that, Dogmatica has always been good going second. It's always been really good going second because Nadir 7 is a good card going second. So I think playing a Dogmatica build going second this format is actually going to be amazing, and I'm fully confident that it's bottom of tier 2. Not amazing, but good. I really think it's one to watch, and it's bottom of tier 2. Like that.
That's a fair analysis, man.
Yeah,
I'd agree with that.
I think Dogmatica Zoa has so much potential. It's just right now we don't have any decks that lose to losing like 6 cards from the extra deck, basically, that are relevant. But I actually think Dogmatica Zoa is an amazing card. I think Dogmatrix, or whatever it's called, the Continuous, is also really good. But yeah,
and there's cards like Garura, Intis. You can play Ultimate Slayer, and the deck doesn't really lose to Diabolus like at all. Like
It
deck's
doesn't.
good, man. Like
yeah,
on a budget
solid.
deck again, and has a lot of room for stuff.
yeah.
It's good. It's good,
Also,
man.
Zoa makes into all of your Dogmatica monsters unaffected by Fusion, Synchro, XYZ, and Links. And what's interesting about this as well is that it doesn't matter. It's not as in it's affected by monsters special summon the extra deck. It's just affected by those monsters. So, for example, if your opponent has an Entis and they send it to the grave, it ain't popping any of your Dogmatica cards because they're unaffected by it.
Ooh, that's nice.
Yeah, Dogmatica Zoa. Look, guys, I'm telling you now, it's not copium. It's got potential. It's got
100%
potential.
definitely has potential,
Yeah.
man. Definitely has.
But guys, anyway, that is the end of this awesome Yu-Gi-Oh! Show tier list. So yeah, I think are we all quite happy with where everything's sitting? I think we're all quite in agreement, right?
Yeah. This is a pretty good list if I do so.
Yeah.
Just on our closing thoughts, Gold Pride.
Yeah. So does anyone here know what Gold Pride does? Because I can't I actually don't.
I've got an idea. Like, obviously, Tom's highlighted. It's just if your life points are lower than your opponent's, you special summon. But it's got the Spriggan's Ship Explorer effect where it can like nuke things in adjacent zones to the tokens that it gives to your
Yep.
opponent.
Okay.
Fabs, why isn't Spriggans on here?
Yeah, my bad.
One to watch for Spriggans. There we go. One to watch.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Gold Pride, it does look interesting. At the moment, like I said, it's not. I don't think it's a fully fledged archetype. It does some quirky things, but at the moment, that's all it does. It's quirky. You can pop a card in adjacent zones, basically. But if you combine it with obviously the Punk engine, you can get a lot of mileage out of the deck at the moment. So it's again, I think it's one to watch.
Be interesting.
Definitely one to watch.
Yeah, again, yeah, I can't lie. I forgot that deck existed. So yeah, it'll definitely be interesting to see what happens with it because. Yeah, I'm sure it's got some potential. But guys, thank you all for watching. We're going to have another Yu-Gi-Oh! Show coming out soon. So make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe. And stay tuned. We'll all talk to you soon. Peace.
Peace.
See ya.